I'm using it now. Only 2 teams have done it in the last 40 years, anyway, I know that much. Okay, so they are now top of the league, and a result that's even more impressive when you consider that 5 of our starting 13 are away on Origin duty this week as well, Mark, so not a bad result. Zach Hardaker made his full Penrith debut at full-back as well.
Yeah.
Didn't have the greatest of days, they really went at him, and I think it was not a rude awakening as such, but it's tricky at this time of year, I think, and...
Off the pace. I mean, that try Barber scored where he basically carried him for... Last year, you would not have seen that happen. You were seeing Hardaker take on bigger men than himself rather than smaller men than himself. I think he's understood the level he needs to get to. He needs to pick it up.
Yeah, there's an interesting bit from Andrew Voss in one of the trade papers this week that talks about, he needs a full pre-season basically to get up to speed.
He was also probably some of the other scores that the Sharkies had. He was a step or two off where he probably should have been.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that's because he's not capable. I just think it's because he's not ready yet. He's not fit yet. He's not been playing well. His form's so low. His confidence is so low.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how dedicated he's maybe been to hitting the heights.
Well, that's the thing you've got to keep in mind. It's not like he's got his move to the NRL on the back of a stellar season so far, is it? He's got his move to the NRL on the back of digging his heels in and saying he wants out at Leeds.
But it does show that, you can be man of steel and then not necessarily automatically be the best player ever still in a tougher league.
Yeah.
And he was far behind what Tompkins' debut looked like.
It will show us a lot about the character of Zach Hardaker over the next season. He's in the NRL next season.
I really hope he succeeds. It looks more likely that he'll be playing on the wing with when Moylan's back from Origin.
You would think so. Moylan looks a cut above at the minute, but we'll see. Rich Wilkinson got in touch. He says, I wouldn't write Zach off being Leeds' number 1 next season. Without being totally shite on his full debut playing at fullback, Zach was miles off the pace. He looked knackered and like a rabbit in the headlights. He will need to be a shitload better to get a contract down here. Final game of the weekend played out this morning up here in the Northern Hemisphere. Saw the Canberra Raiders defeat the North Queensland Cowboys by 26 points to 12, Mark.
Yeah, Josh Hodgson, a try 110 metres and Elliot Whitehead 137 metres. 2 impressive performances from our boys in the Green Machine.
Fantastic. How does that leave things looking in the NRL then?
Well, the Eels have finally had their points deduction ratified now, but they still sit above the Roosters and the Knights on the ladder. With 8 rounds left to play, and obviously some of these will still include byes for some teams. The Sharks are looking good in the top spot on 32 points, as are the Storm 2 points behind. The race for the top 8 is close. The Titans and the Panthers are just on the outer on 18 points, 2 behind the Dragons and the Warriors above them, 2 inconsistent sides, so you can see maybe a swing around there. No team is officially out of it yet, though, and no team is definitely in the playoffs yet either, with 8 rounds to go. So it's interesting.
That's fantastic. Right, the Brentwood Eels, Mark. It's been a big weekend down in Essex.
Well, in Oxford,
exactly, in Oxford, I should say. How are things going for our lads at the Brentwood Eels?
Well, Aaron's under-14s, they headed over to Oxfordshire to play in the 5 Counties Cup final against the Oxford Cavaliers. This was in one of the curtain raisers to the Tri-Fest. A strong start from Oxford saw them go 2 tries up, but Brentwood fought their way back into the game with tries from Raffle and Hammond.
Very good.
At half-time, the Cavaliers were 10. Were on 10 points, but the Eels were ahead on 12 points. I was getting excited following along on Twitter. I was cheering the boys on with our tweets. Aaron says it was crucial for the Eels to score first in the second half to build on the momentum. A few chances went begging though before Oxford put together a powerful set, crashing over to take the lead. The Eels worked hard to regain the ball and the game swung one way and then the other, but then the Cavaliers attacked at pace. Their half-time substitutions having real impact, dotting down to extend the lead. The Eels were starting to struggle with half the squad either out injured or unavailable. We had just 13 lads on the pitch and no interchanges available. The Eels battled on bravely to the last minute, but this was a mountain that they would be unable to climb on this occasion. But Aaron has never been so proud of an Eels performance despite the result ending in defeat. The final score, the Oxford Cavaliers 28, the Brentwood Eels 12, so well done to the Cavaliers on winning the under-14s 5 Counties Cup final. The Cavaliers were crowned worthy champions and prevented with the cup before the Oxford RL versus Gloucester All Golds game. The Eels collected the runners-up trophy. The under-15s headed over to Surrey to play in their quarter-final playoff game against the Rutlish Raiders. A tight game saw the Raiders come out on top 28 points to 16. That ends the under-15s league campaign for another year for those boys. Next week, though, the inspirational and undefeated Eels under-13s are back in action in their semi-final playoff game against either the Rutlish Raiders or the Invicta Panthers, but I'm confident those boys will see it through anyway, because they've been awesome all year, the under-13s, haven't they?
Come on, Eels! Absolutely fantastic. Right, that's Rugby League well and truly covered from last week. Let's take a look now into the future as we bring you our predictions for round 22 of Super League. Right, so it's round 22 mark. Time is running out for teams to get themselves ready for the Super 8s, and we start this week with the final Hull derby of the season over at the KCOM Stadium. It's FC hosting the Robins. Even though Hull FC are having this sort of mini wobble, and even though KR have started to kind of find a way to at least be competitive, I still fancy Hull FC in a close one. I still think hopefully they're going to have a couple of the forwards back that will drive them over, because if they can front up against this KR pack, then they should more than be able to lay a platform. And I don't necessarily think it means that they even need two active halfbacks. I think if they can lay enough of a platform, Sneed will just run the show against KR, far more easily than they did against Leeds. Going for a 2-point win in a close derby in favour of Hull FC.
Yeah, I think the only reason it will be close is because of Hull will take a while to get going into this game, I think. But I've gone exactly the same scoreline, 20 points to 18 actually, as it happens, for Hull FC, because I just think that they're better and they've got more better players. And you said it's not played on paper before, but when we're looking at it this far out and we're not seeing what the teams are,
we're making the plans,
we're not seeing the suspensions confirmed and that sort of stuff, or if there is anything like that to take into account, I've got to look at this and say the home team are the better team, and whilst they had an upsetting defeat last week, I think they need it as well. I think they need to prove they've still got that grit to win a close game after being quite disappointing in the second half last week. They need to pull out a late win on this one. So that's what I'm going for. Okay,
second game of the weekend sees Widnes taking on Salford down at the Select Security Stadium. A lot of this result, for me, hinges on Salford's ability to fix up their weak defensive line and their line defence, and I'm not entirely sure that they'll be able to do enough work through the week and then attitudinally be in the right place to get a result against a Widnes side that can, against a weak defensive line, has enough individuals in it to punish them. So I'm going for a Widnes victory, 24 points to 12 in favour of the Kennicks mark.
And when you explain it like that, it definitely makes sense, but I'm going to go Salford to win, 28 points to 24.
You're windmilling now, though, aren't you? I've ruled myself out of any kind of serious tipping strategies. I'm trying to be as genuine as I can do. Are you not just looking for the surprise results now?
I've almost gone for what I hope to happen on this one.
Right.
I hope Salford bounce back for the players, for the fans, for the management team, the coaching team, and I'd like to think that they've got enough players. The two halfbacks they've got are of a good enough calibre, and they have been performing pretty well all year. The front row deserves an awesome amount of credit, and maybe just a little bit of a run out of the Super League season with some wins against these big teams to sort of demonstrate that, were it not for other failings inside the organisation,
they would be a top 8 side.
In the past, they would be a top 8 side. I think that would spur on Salford as a group. When you think of everything involved with the club, I think it would spur everyone on to feel like that. As long as the Doc doesn't carry on with some bitter sort of feud about it, I think he could look at it as a positive, show that he's on the right steps, and if he doesn't fuck up again with what he's doing with the running of the club, then it will be positive, good for them. And that's almost why I've gone this way. And I also think Widnes...
Do you honestly think that that's what he's going to do? Or do you think he's going to...
I think he's staying.
Yeah, I think he's staying. I think he's shouting his mouth off.
28-24 anyway in favour of Salford. Like I say, it's kind of more on what I hoped to happen. It's almost a game that I wouldn't care less about if I didn't care about the Salford fans and players and management structure from this year.
Yeah, the Salford fan
getting something they deserve.
Yeah. The workaday Salford fan is one of the most harshly treated fans in rugby league in a lot of senses, because it just comes at them from all angles, and it's, you know, even their own club doesn't like to look after them that very well in terms of like providing a spectacle that's not been like bereft of points and deductions and
tainted in some way.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a certain amount of time for the Salford fan. Leeds take on Wigan on Friday night, and it's the televised Sky game. Looking at the players you had out this week,
I can't believe Leeds are on TV again. Like Thursday night games, you can't do much about anymore because they've been set in stone all year.
Yeah.
So I can understand why we ended up with Warrington against Salford last week and stuff like that. But why Leeds against Wigan is on TV this week? I can't. I suppose there's no other obvious alternative. I suppose that's the
That was my next question. Would you rather watch Huddersfield play St Helens?
Well, I would have tried to get Castleford Warrington moved.
But then we all kick off when Sky Mecca's move fixtures, Mark.
No, I know, yeah.
But anyway, Leeds versus Wigan is on television, and traditionally this is a really good game, and apart from this season, this would have been an absolute humdinger, I would say. I think we could still get a good game going out of it. I think what we're going to see is a depleted Wigan side, even more so depleted with the probable suspension of Sean O'Loughlin.
No definite suspension, it's just how many games he'll miss, I think.
Okay, so with the definite suspension of Sean O'Loughlin and the injuries that Wigan are already carrying as well, juxtaposed against Leeds' improvements over the last few weeks, I think we're going to see a fairly comparatively even game. Not maybe a classic like we've had from these two in the past, not a grand final or what have you, but an even game. I'm going to go for the home side, just because Leeds have got enough of their players coming back and their real talented players starting to get some traction a little bit, and I just think that if Leeds can keep that progression going from the whole game, that they're going to have too much for a handicapped and weakened Wigan side. So I'm going 26 points to 18 in favour of the Rhinos.
I'm tipping Wigan.
Of course you are.
24 points to 20 is what I'm going to give as the score. Well, for a start, there's a resilience in this Wigan side, and they are the best defensive side in the competition, I would argue, even though numbers suggest they're the second best. I think the best at defensively game planning for sides. I think they'll pick how to game plan this one. There's areas that Leeds will have an advantage if the players play to form, particularly on both edges. When you look at Wigan, you know, Tierney's going to be playing again because Charnley is a doubt with the shoulder injury he picked up very late in our game on. That's another one that got forced off in the game. Jake Shorrock ended up playing at centre in the last 5 minutes, and we still came back and won. But yeah, Charnley got forced off with that, so that's touch and go. Sam Tompkins was in a boot on Saturday because of his rolled ankle. He's touch and go. I would say we wouldn't risk him with a semi-final and the 8s coming up.
No, I agree.
So I would be... And we're kind of looking almost guaranteed for a top 2 spot anyway. Whilst that makes very little difference, like psychologically, you know, you're in that hunt.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to stop Saints getting into the top 4 to get the extra home game, wouldn't it? The week after, more so. But anyway,
yes, I'm sure
we will have Mossop coming back, and the big news is Frank Paul Nuasala has landed, and he will make his debut. So hopefully he can be impressive.
And not be Frank Paul the penalty machine.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hope so. But basically, we'll have some forwards back into this game. And Lima Tautau, I felt, was very lucky to escape a ban. His tackle. Have
you not got your quota of error-filled Islanders? Then do you feel like you need more?
He made a tackle on the sort of one standing leg, because he was on both legs of Fafita, and Fafita had to go off shortly after. I'm not sure if it was a planned substitution or because of a knock he picked up. But I thought it was a very bad, dangerous tackle, and I would have not approved of necessarily. Well, yeah, I would have agreed with a ban for Tali Mataltai for the tackle he made. Right. It wasn't. There was no twisting motion like you've seen on some of the really, really bad ones.
Yeah.
But still, it was dangerous, and I think it needed to be dealt with because those tackles need to be dealt with. And so I'm surprised he got away scot-free, if I'm honest. with the disciplinary, but he did, so he'll be in there. Ben Flowers playing exceptionally well, and to add to that 2 more experienced front rowers, it's something we haven't had for a good period of time. But we will be missing O'Loughlin, we will still be missing Bateman, Farrell and Joel Thomas.